USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2018 US Open Ultimate Championships. We're set for the title match in the mixed division, the first of 3 championship games on the way. We begin with Seattle BFG, the reigning world champs, and Philadelphia AMP, who fell to BFG in the semifinals a couple weeks ago in Ohio, looking for revenge. Yesterday, AMP sneaking past Dragon Thrust 13-10. BFG a 15-9 winner over Slow White. And a lot of people thought that the World Championship final would be Philly and Seattle. I think most people thought it'd be mixtape, but BFG has taken the mixed division by storm. AMP looks good again. These are 2 teams that are at the top of the pack trying to make an early statement on the Triple Crown Tour.
We're on the cusp of a changing of the guard at the top of the club mixed division. Dragon Thrust had been so dominant earlier in the decade, they haven't made it back to finals in some time. And mixtape, a poor performance at this tournament. AMP and BFG are 2 teams that are trying to stake their claim at the top of the division.
Well, this BFG program, just in its 3rd year, they lost in the finals of the game to go at regionals in year 1, made it to the semis of nationals in year 2, and then won a world title. Quite a progression. What has impressed you most about what this team's been able to do?
I think the way they've integrated talent that has differing levels of experience from all different divisions has been incredibly impressive. And one of those key pieces has been the performance of Rina Kawabata. She had so much experience in the women's division with Traffic, the team out of Vancouver. She was an alternate for Team Canada World Games, and she's just been a force downfield for this team.
Relentless speed. She's gotten the disc whenever she's wanted. She's played with a cool experience. Philadelphia AMP, led by Patrick Sherlock, got the win over Dragon Thrust yesterday. And this is a team that's still kind of finding its form in 2018. They've got some injuries. They've got some new additions, one of which, Nicky Spiva, wouldn't say he played his A game yesterday in the semifinals, but he's certainly involved in everything for this AMP offense and needs to be.
Yeah, he's a centerpiece of this offense, whether you're going to have him being the central handler who the disc gets centered to, or the initiating cutter, or the continuation cutter to be that deep threat. He can play each of those positions, and the more effective he is, the more powerful this AMP offense will be.
Another chapter of this budding rivalry in the mixed division, AMP and Mixtape for the Mixed Championship at the 2018 US Open. And it starts next. BFG and AMP opening pull when we return. The USA Ultimate US Open Club Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. And by Discraft, the official disc of USA Ultimate, now available at Midwest Meyer stores and over 2,000 retailers nationwide. Welcome back to the National Sports Center. We're ready for the starting lineup for Seattle BFG. Kieran Kelly didn't play the first couple of days of this tournament in every game because of some lingering aches and pains, but he's back in the lineup today along with Chang Kirkland, Kawabata, Jeff Pape, a critical player for this team, Lindsay Simon Fox, and Crystal Koo round out the starting 7 for Philly AMP. As we saw yesterday, they often go with 4 females on the O-line when they have the chance to do so. Nicky Spiva and Sean Mott, new additions from a year ago. And Bobby Roos was a go-to guy on more than one occasion in the semifinals yesterday.
Yeah, he was a downfield force, making plays, coming down with discs in tight spaces. I think he's going to be a target that Spiva and some of the other throwers on this O-line are eyeing.
Has warmed up considerably over the last couple of hours into the mid-80s. It feels even hotter than that on the turf. And the thunderstorms that were in the forecast so far have veered away from the National Sports Center. The mixed final at the 2018 US Open is underway, and we'll see BFG on offense first. Jeff Pape, 28-year-old Michigan native, quickly to Kawabata. And it's Mo Zafari, a longtime veteran for Philly AMP, chasing around Kawabata. That's going to be a big matchup in this game. So far, not too many teams, if any, have had much success slowing Kawabata down. This time she slows herself down by overshooting a wide open target, Kieran Kelly, and throws it away. This is Carolyn Normile, guarded by Crystal Koo. And the swing around to Mozafari. She'll fire long. That disc is going to be tipped, and it finds the ground. Good defense downfield by Alexa Kirkland.
Coaching tip there, of course, catcher blocks. I know Kirkland was there to make the play, but macking that disc up in the air, giving those AMP receivers another chance at making a play on that disc.
Kawabata takes the deep shot. Kirkland just shy of the end zone, and she dropped it.
And that was blading in low to the turf at the point of arrival, but Kirkland, that's a catch she's got to make, especially in a championship final.
Third turnover, the opening point. Second chance to break for AMP. And a second missed opportunity. And that just never came back in, so the observer put a little beanbag down, and BFG will be able to march it up the sideline.
And these are just unforced errors on these last few turnovers. Discs hitting the receiver's hand and simply dropping them.
Kelly to the middle of the field for Lindsay Simon Fox, and there's great defense from AMP. Normile getting the block on the undercut.
Tight, Linz. Ready, Crystal? Inside, up.
DeSabato downfield, and now the deep shot. Just shy of the goal line. It's Spencer DeRoos. And there's the break. An excellent start for AMP. We're chatting with BFG's Adam Simon about the semifinal at the World Championships, and he talked about how luck was really involved. Some early points in that game that could have gone either way on a windy day. BFG won them, built the 8-4 lead, and then AMP literally didn't have enough time to make the comeback. This first point, some missed opportunities, and AMP, after two missed opportunities, converts on their third break try.
Yeah, I think comparably, the conditions are much calmer here in Blaine than they were on that Friday in Lebanon, Ohio. And it looks like both teams just needing to shake off the nerves on these first few points, because as we talked about, a couple unforced errors just plaguing them and hurting their opportunities and efficiency.
Philly AMP, a 13-10 win in the semis yesterday. They clobbered Slow White in pool play, 14-4. Closest game in pool play was a 15-11 win against Cincinnati Steamboat. And as is often the case with AMP, they have very balanced scoring distribution. A lot of different players with a 5-goal, 5-assist range.
Here we go, D.
Adam Simon has to leave his feet to catch the not quite centering pass. Kelly stays out on the field for the second straight 0 point.
And we see some lane poaches there from the AMP defenders, trying to clog up those initiating looks.
Yes, Rob. Rush your guy. Rush to the right behind you.
Adam Simon, the veteran.
No, stay here. No, you're still here.
When you've played as long as Simon has, you know, it's just like another world championship. You know, for a lot of players, that's the career highlight. For Simon, it's just another title. Shaky start, though, for BFG.
Wait. No, not right now. Give it fucking.
Stephen Ing, travel call. He apologizes immediately.
Song 2. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, Lissa, ready, Lissa. Up. Nice pass.
Bryce and Simon Fox took care of that one easily.
Let's go. Let's go, Boom. Nice go.
Throw that Stephen Ing certainly would want back. Kelly, a good job coming to the disc. Kelly may have been BFG's best player overall at Worlds. He had a really great week. Formerly has played with Seattle Sockeye from the Cincinnati area. Went to college at Cincy.
Nice find, Liz.
Here's Simon. Simon Fox downfield for Lindsay Simon Fox.
Fire, Nord, snap.
You hear the fire call from the sidelines. That's Amp transitioning out of that zone look, matching up with man-to-man, woman-to-woman.
Nice cut, Lindsay. That's a great cut. Lindsay, you're on now, though.
Kelsey, stay. You're good, Kelsey.
Out.
Alyssa Sue forcing Pape to bid for the reset.
Nice cut, Nina.
And there's great goal line defense from Amp.
Get it back, White. Go back. Nice, Pace.
Malty McKinnon got the block, but every blue-shirted defender was tight with their BFG counterpart.
Well, McKinnon knew the exact cut that Kawabata was going to make, taking it out to the force side first, and then planting and coming back to that inside. She jumped the route on that inside lane to earn that block.
And meanwhile, there's a discussion underway as to will there be another turnover or will it be a foul to keep Amp with possession. Judge for yourself. That looked like a push pass.
Yeah, that was an aggressive push pass.
Okay. So foul was called observer ruling. We felt like you both had equal opportunity to that space, so there's no foul on the second ever.
Hold positions, please. Hold positions. It starts with a check.
Fire.
You agree with Jonathan Monforte's decision?
Yeah, I don't think that Simon went through the body of the receiver to make that play. I think they were both competing for the same space at the same time. It wasn't a dangerous play.
Yes, Nord.
I think that's a fair assessment, and a composed call there by Pape, calling this timeout after his offense has turned the disc over several times in these first 2 points.
5 turnovers so far from the BFG O-line, and it is early. You get the early timeout. Want to ask you about the mixed division at the World Championships. Obviously, there were 5 USA teams that made the quarterfinals, including the Triple Crown Tour champions last year, Triple Crown winners, Seattle Mixtape. And they fall short in quarters. BFG goes all the way. Just give me your impressions on this BFG run to the world title and kind of what it meant to the mixed division. I mean, you mentioned it in the open, changing of the guard. I'm not ready to count out Mixtape and Dragon Thrust and teams like that from the top-level conversation, but perhaps you are.
Yeah, I think they're still going to be in the conversation, fighting in the quarterfinals and semifinals of those tournaments that we have later in this year. We're talking about the Pro Championships, the National Championships, still left to come, but you can't discount the value of these teams actually breaking through and winning these tournaments earlier in the year and getting themselves in the national championship game or in the tournament championship game earlier in the season. I think that kind of experience is something that these teams can build on. I think there's still opportunity for Mixtape to get there, but AMP and BFG are the teams that have made the most of their opportunities so far this season.
In pool play, BFG had 2 universe point games, beat Public Enemy 12-11, a game that they led 8-4 at half and let Public Enemy creep back into it. A stall was called back a couple throws ago here.
I never get to stall. I count so slow. One time this girl kept saying fast count, and I'm like, I don't know how. I'm like, so 1, 2.
Hold on, hold on.
Yeah, I'm like.
Gonna come back in on a contested stall. BFG also went to universe against Mixtape, 11-10. BFG prevailed.
I feel like that's most of what they do.
Yes, Lord! Yes, Lord!
Bryson Simon Fox into the end zone for Kieran Kelly. And at long last, BFG gets on the board.
Well, a much tougher hold than they would have liked, and a rockier start to these first 2 points than they would have liked. But they find their favorite downfield target, Bryson Simon Fox, just setting things up at the front of the stack, taking himself all the way over, back and forth from the break side to the force side, and then back again. Good job making space for that inside shot, setting it up at the front of the stack.
So in the first 2 points, Ian, AMP is 1 for 5 on break chances. What does that number tell you about these two teams early in this game?
AMP's D-line offense could certainly be more efficient, and they've had opportunities that they haven't taken advantage of. And if this comes down to being a 1-goal game or a 2-goal finish, they've got no one to blame but themselves at the end, because they've had these opportunities with the disc earlier on and haven't converted them at all or as efficiently as they could have.
Former Revolver defender Andrew Hagan with the pull, and it never came in bounds, and this is going to give
Hey, here we go. Good.
AMP pretty good field position. Mario O'Brien, the former Sockeye standout who just joined BFG, also on this D-line. Calvin Trissolini initiates for the AMP offense. Spiva beginning downfield, catches the second throw, shoots to the end zone, and wow, 3 throws from the brick mark to the end zone. Sean Mott hauls it in. Quite a contrast in the precision of the two offenses the first 3 points of the game.
Well, it looked like some of the BFG defenders weren't entirely on the same page with establishing the force. Some of them marking flatter than others, some of them giving up bigger backhand windows than others were. And you've got aggressive throwers like Spiva who can step through those marks regardless of how they're positioned and earn those continuation breakthrows into the end zone.
Spiva tops on the team in assists here at the US Open. His second tournament with AMP. He's been living in Philly for a while, commuted down to DC to play for Truck Stop in the men's division. Previously played for Chain Lightning when he was coming up through the ranks, a Nashville youth product. Can BFG's offense tighten the screws? Kerry Chang catches a centering pass this time. Pretty good defense. Made it really tough to get the reset to Koo. And here's Chang. BFG is a pretty new team in the mixed division, obviously, but they've made a bunch of fans with their uniform combination. The mix of the primary colors and the fluorescent yellow.
Let's go, Amp!
They're not playing as well as they look so far in this game.
Well, count me among the fans. I love the fluorescent accent, but it looks like Kirkland is considering a foul call here.
Okay, so you're going to come to me. You're clearly contesting. Right, I get it. You're coming to me. Okay. Observer ruling, no foul. Okay, we're gonna hold on. We're gonna stop here. We're gonna start with a check. Okay. Disc in, 20.
Here we go, Bryson.
Do you understand what happened there?
Big mark, Bryce. Big mark, Bryce. I'm talking
I think
Bryson.
the AMP defender
Close,
was
Bryson. Zuma
in
close.
Kirkland's path, and as Kirkland was running deep,
You don't need to be too close.
she may have tripped over the AMP defender.
Good. It's going to be.
A decent punt and not much more.
Another one of those D-line offense opportunities that AMP has thrown away.
Now 1 of 6 on break chances. Bryson Simon Fox over to Chang, and now Simon. Simon had Aldis Root open on the far side of the field, looked him off. And no one was really cutting, and the throw is too low for the bidding Kirkland. I think you got to give some credit to this AMP defensive pressure. Just out of the outstretched hand of the bidding deep target. 1 of 7 on break chances. We're still 2-1, 3 points in, about 20 minutes in.
Back, keep your head up, look around. Max, he's gonna fill.
Kawabata called a foul. Mo Zafari. Deciding whether to contest. Take a look.
Got a foul. Come in 1.
That's so close, and that's a drill that a lot of teams like to run. Simulate the undercut and then have that handler come up on the same side as the undercut with the downfield receiver throwing a quick little dishy to that handler.
Oh, the terminology we use. Here's Simon Fox. Taku. Chang was hesitant to clear out. Finally, he did. The reset to Simon. Kawabata has Chang open and hits him. Another hard-fought hold from BFG.
Well, once BFG worked that disc to the red zone, they finally settled into some of their fundamentals. And I wonder if that disciplined vertical stack structure is just a better fit for them, because they looked so much more comfortable dumping and swinging the disc across the field. The horizontal stack that they've been running has created some opportunities for defenders to poach and clog those lanes, and their offense just doesn't look like itself in these first couple points.
And with that said, this game so far is like that football game when after the first quarter, one team has possessed the ball for 12 of the 15 minutes, and yet they settled for 2 field goals, and the other team got 1 touchdown, and it's basically a tie game. See if AMP's offense can stay perfect.
Tommy Lee on the pole for BFG.
Tommy Lee, Kyle Terrier ready to run down the field here for BFG. Once again, Spiva's going to start downfield, and that disc rolled past a couple AMP players out the side, allows BFG to set up. That's a costly mistake.
Yeah, you got to have auxiliary handlers ready to fall on the pole, stop the roll, because picking up on the cone is always a challenging thing for any offense.
A free reset into the end zone. And here's Spiva. Big fake takes the under for Devlin. Hannah needs something. Lake in the middle. Flings it to the end zone. Well read. And the AMP offense remains turnover free. Lake to Normile.
Normile involved in 2 of AMP's goals so far. And you saw the emphasis from the AMP offense, really interested in keeping that disc as close to that far sideline as possible. They didn't want to keep things over on this near sideline. I'm not sure if that was a strategic decision for win purposes, but keeping the disc on that high side made enough space for the shot deep to Normile.
Nico Lake, a Georgetown product, grew up in the Philly area. This guy's enjoying himself. That's Cam Bailey, Seattle mixtape loudmouth. Pretty good defensive player too. Alex Duffel. I got squirt with one of those squirt guns walking around the fields the other day. It's hard to avoid.
Gotta feel nice in this 85-degree heat. It's probably even warmer on the turf.
I think it was drizzling when I got squirted.
So it just felt like any other raindrop, I bet.
Yeah, exactly. Lindsey Simon Fox gets to root over to Pape. Saw this defense yesterday. This zone look, often with 2 or 3 female players setting the marks in the de facto cup. You hear the fire call. AMP matches up. Pape slings it to nobody. Had both Kirkland and Lindsey Simon Fox relatively in the area, but no one was making the cut to the end zone. And neither you nor I have watched every point BFG has played. We're bouncing around, but I'll tell you, when I've watched them, I've been very impressed. And this is not what we've seen throughout Worlds and the US Open so far.
And I think a part of that has to do with AMP's defense from a strategic perspective. The poaches that they're putting in the lanes, the different looks that are making it hard for BFG to just isolate some of its athletes downfield, and that's where they had a lot of success at the World Championships. Just putting Rina Kawabata and Kieran Kelly in space, but they haven't been able to do that cleanly yet in this game.
Looking long, Mozafari reads it, hauls it in about 10 yards shy of the goal line. And a pick was called. Doesn't look like the throw is going to go all the way back. Mozafari will keep it with Alexa Kirkland on the mark. Or, well, she's going to keep the disc, but everyone's going to have to try to guess where they were when the pick was called 30 yards away from them. Amp unable to capitalize it again.
What just happened?
It's just dropped it.
That drop?
Yeah. Did not expect that.
The sidelines just as flabbergasted as we are.
Get in. Last pin. Move tight. Luke last.
Pape with another throwaway. Too tall for Adam Simon. Near the sidelines. Great effort by Raha, but she's unable to keep it in bounds.
Keep that deep pressure high, Am. Who's got Rob?
Needed another inch or two of reach. Very close. I thought the observer got it right watching it live. After the replay, I'm not quite as certain. Kirkland hauls in the fastball. Looking to Pape. And Peleg was not ready for it. That's another hard-fought hold for BFG. So Amp 1 of 9 on break chances. BFG has not had a break opportunity yet, and we're tied 3-3.
I think we need to see some more versatility in the play calling and adaptability of this BFG offense earlier on. The way their initiation sets are set up and their post stack looks are starting, it's just playing into the hands of the Amp defensive play calls. And, you know, there are other options that these teams have in their toolbooks and their arsenals. They can go with a straight center vertical stack. They can work out of a side stack. You got to do something else to get this defense out of its comfort zone, because quite frankly, the Amp defense is loving the amount of pressure and how difficult it's been for BFG to hold so far.
First goal for Pape. The contrast between BFGO points and AMPO points so far has been really striking. Hagen's pull bounces near the goal line. Center to Trissolini. Near the sideline. Leaping catch needed to keep it alive. Morse back to Spiva, who fires deep. A couple targets in pursuit. Either one of them can haul it in. Trissolini takes charge in the end zone.
Wish we had a timer running, just comparing the length and duration of these O points. The Amp offense having such an easy go of it out there. The matchup's not proving challenging. The Huckers not feeling pressured. The break mark throws not made too difficult. It's early on, things can change, but everything's going Amp's way from an offensive perspective.
Another goal for Trissolini. I like how a lot of these Amp players, they go on the field and like they have their designated hat holder on the sideline, especially the floppy hats to bring them, they're ready to go when they come to the sideline, get that shade out of there, or get the shade.
Well, do you think the floppy hats are firm enough for them to play disc ball with?
That's a good question. Saw the Amp team playing plenty of disc ball yesterday. Little Nerf ball, the size, a little bit bigger than a softball. Bouncing it up with a disc. Before the game, Tommy Lee of BFG was playing disc ball with some of the Amp players, which is not all that uncommon to see the teams playing games together before they go head-to-head in a championship caliber bout. And BFG march down the field here and take care of possession. Kelly wants it all with this shot. Kelly loses, Chang loses his hat and then hauls it in.
That's the cleanest 0 point we've seen yet from this BFG offense. A similar horizontal set, but better job spacing, and there weren't nearly as many lane poaches from the AMP defenders as we had seen on some of the earlier points.
Here Kelly with the push in the end zone for Kerry Chang in the BFG score. Roll time for 4.
So Kerry Chang, third-year member of BFG, 28 years old, out of Columbia University in New York, with his second goal. We're even at 4. The only break in the game came in the opening point, when BFG turned over 3 times and AMP finally capitalized. Since then, 6 more turns from the BFG O-line, and to their credit, they've always gotten it back. This guy's having a time of his life. That's a petite harmonica.
Have you ever been able to play a harmonica?
I have. Yeah, harmonicas are great.
I got one as a holiday gift the past year, and I still haven't been able to bring myself to try it. I just don't think I've got the chops for it.
I mean, you can speak. You've got air in your lungs. I think you can figure it out. By next year's U.S. Open, I demand you become a proficient harmonica superstar. No pressure.
Yeah, what's on the line? Or else what?
Or else we'll call you out for having a harmonica for multiple years and never taking advantage of the great gift.
Okay.
It's not much of a penalty to avoid doing it, but
purely a pride thing at this point.
I'll bring the guitar. We'll do Blues Travelers Run Around. You do the harmonica. I'll play the guitar and do the lyrics. It'll be great. You in? Here's the first AMP turnover from the O-line.
Here we go, defense. Let's go, Bob.
We'll be the halftime entertainment.
Here we go, Kel.
We'll get someone else to come in and run the halftime interviews, and we'll get out on the field and give everyone a concert.
Yes, Linda. Yes, Linda.
There's the BFG break, and we're back on serve, and it feels like AMP has settled for field goals. BFG has gotten a couple touchdowns, and we're tied at 5-4 in the first half.
And that's just, I don't know, Sean Mott's got to make that catch. I know it was coming in a little hotter, but did hit him in the hands.
Sarah Bendit from Tommy Lee. And the disparity here now, Ian. BFG 1 for 1 on break chances. AMP's 1 for 9.
Well, a great matchup there on that goal line throw. Lee and Spiva, 2 veterans of the Next Gen Tour that ran around the United States and took some of the youngest stars of the game while they were still in college and had them square off against the great men's club teams of the country.
For the first time, BFG playing multiple deep points in a row. Hagen's pull received by Normile to Spiva. And now AMP falling apart a little bit.
And again, just another execution error. That's absolutely catchable out into space, no pressure around. Got to make that grab.
Mario O'Brien called a foul. Certainly contact shoulder to shoulder with Bobby Roos, excuse me.
Trying to understand what there is to debate here.
Hey, Carolyn. Carolyn, do it here? Yeah, this is a good argument. I thought he got me. Before I went up. I heard it. Okay, it's coming here? Okay, observer, you came into him. It's a foul. Coming in one.
Foul upheld.
Foul ball is upheld by the observer.
Mario O'Brien, one of the spirit captains for BFG, a role he's served on a number of different club and national teams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where did the foul happen?
O'Brien's done so much to share his ultimate knowledge with the larger community, producing many educational videos with the Rise Up program, running international clinics. So many players have benefited from his level of expertise.
Really tough catch made there by Alyssa Sue, and then the turnover gives it right back to Amp.
Mar, you're in.
Here we go, Pickle!
Roos over the defender. That's going to work. That's a hold from the Amp offense. Hannah in the end zone.
We get another look. Sue made that great grab, and then she just kind of short arms her backhand. She didn't step out, and an experienced defender like Carolyn Normile is going to challenge that, and you saw her earn the block, and then, goodness, Julia Bladen so close to blocking that crossfield throw. We've talked about this a couple times this weekend. These crossfield end zone shots that go over the stack and have to go through so much traffic are so risky. And that's exactly the reason why there's so many opportunities for defenders to make the play. And if Bladen reacts a second earlier,
or is an inch taller.
Yeah, I think she earns that block.
Bobby Roos, 8th assist of the weekend. Been on AMP since the 2015 season. So 5-all, we're on serve through 10 points. AMP has had many more chances to break, 7 to be exact.
Let's go up. Here we go, Ben. Net, you're there. Under, you're close. Net close. Yes, attack that. Attack that.
Kawabata's throw, nice job near the sideline by Kirkland to toe the line. Lindsay Simon Fox over to Carrie Chang and into the end zone. Alexa Kirkland is there. By far the smoothest O point for BFG.
So they got things started by getting the disc over to Kawabata in space, and she's just able to keep moving the disc down the line. And again, in the red zone, it's that swing, that change of the point of attack that opens up that final goal shot option. Great fundamentals in the red zone from the BFG offense.
You know, we're here in the mixed final, and there's no better time to talk about it than right now. A lot of people think the best team in the mixed division will be a team that no one sees in a big-time tournament until Club Nationals, and that is DC Space Heater, a squad that has added 3 of arguably the top 7 female players in the world: Sandy Jorgensen, Jenny Fay, Claire Desmond. great male talent like Georgia Bosher as well. I'm sorry.
Yo,
Sorry,
Yeah.
Georgia. Obviously some great male talent. Alan Kolick, who's played with Truck Stop, Pat Schreiwise, some young players as well. Do you look at that roster and think they're the team to beat as we play here in early August at the U.S. Open?
I think they're a top 5, maybe even top 3 powerhouse, but I don't think they are unquestionably the team to beat.
Great adjustment. There's Carolyn Normile hauling in the score, and Amp answers quickly.
Well, there's a reason Normile led Pittsburgh Danger to the semifinals of the college championships. She's a dynamic offensive threat downfield and with the disc in her hands, and we see her receiving ability on display here, adjusting at the last second after she's kept the defender on her back hip the entire time. And AMP is one of those teams that's going to have to worry about Space Heater in particular, because they're in the same region and it's unclear if Space Heater is going to complete enough sanctioned games or turn in a strong enough performance in the regular season to earn a strength bid for that region, or if another mixed team will perform well enough to earn another strength bid for that region as well.
Amp and Space Heater did play once. It was June 16th, 15-13. Space Heater victorious. A fun game to watch. BFG centers to Simon. Underneath for Bryson Simon Fox. Simon went down. May have called a foul on Rosso.
And I think Rosso did get the block, but before he got the block, his forearm took, yeah, look at that. There's a lot of body contact. It's not only his forearm, also his knee going into Simon and taking him down.
Rescinded!
Wow. I'm really surprised by that. I thought the body contact that Rosso initiated took Simon down to the ground, but perhaps Simon was already tripping on his own. And incredible sportsmanship in the moment to recognize that and let that recognition prevail.
Here's the 10th break opportunity for AMP, currently 1 of 9. Rosso needs a release. Loses yards, but gets the reset. Nardelli. And, oh, what a job in the end zone, keeping it in. Tremendous athleticism for the AMP goal, Luke Ryan. 7-6 Philly.
Well, these AMP throwers were attacking the break side right after the turnover. You saw Normile initiate with a break side look. And then as those windows closed, the AMP throwers still continued to attack that backhand space where the defenders weren't set up. And that's so tough to do, but the BFG defenders just have to do a better job of rounding their defensive adjustments. You know, once that break throw gets off, rather than running straight to the thrower, you run about 5 yards past the thrower and cut down that break angle before you come in and set the mark. You take away that most dangerous option first. And BFG just wasn't able to do that after the turnover on that point.
The assist for Yuga Shao, rookie on AMP this year. 21-year-old out of Columbia, who will be a senior this fall. So the second AMP break gives them a chance to break for half.
Let's go, D!
Dodging flying bodies, Kelly slings it to Chang. That low throw dug out by Koo. Feels like every time Pape catches the disc, he's always looking for someone going long.
You gotta hustle, Ben. Ben, dig.
Pretty good handler defense. Pape able to secure the reset. Tumbling grab from Kawabata. Kerry Chang taking his time. And BFG is in. Crystal Koo leaping into the end zone for Seattle.
Not the first time on this point that Chang and Koo have connected, as we saw Koo diving to the turf to save possession. And then they work together in those small spaces at the front of the end zone. We hear public address announcer Steve Dunn telling everyone that AMP has taken a timeout here with halftime on the line.
So far in this first half, 21 total turnovers. 7 from AMP, 11 for BFG. Two goals, 2 assists for Kerry Chang. Certainly an underrated player in this division. Speedy, decisive. And Crystal Koo, who, like Rina Kawabata, has experience representing Team Canada out of the University of British Columbia and previously played with Vancouver Traffic in the women's division. Yeah, there are a couple different kinds of mixed teams. You can have this team that's largely veteran laden with players who have had a lot of success in other divisions. And then you have more of the homegrown mixed teams. And there's certainly some overlap because I think AMP would characterize themselves as a homegrown team, but
sure,
they add in Nikki Spiva and Sean Mott and players like Linda Morris and Danielle Walsh and Anna Thompson, who did play with Green Means Go in Philadelphia. But this BFG team with the likes of Kelly and Kawabata and Hagan and O'Brien and Koo, Bryson Simon Fox played for Portland Rhino and Seattle Voodoo in the men's division.
Yes, Hagan. Under Hagan.
And a lot of that is about where you grow up. Like in Philadelphia, AMP has had more success than any men's or women's team has. And they've become kind of the team that a lot of people shoot to play for. Because everyone wants to play for the best.
And you compare that to the community in Seattle that has such depth at all divisions of the game. BFG assembling some talent from, as you pointed out players that have moved to the area or newer to the area. You compare that to the mixtape squad, which is perhaps a team that prides itself on more homegrown talent.
Tough shot looking for Trissolini, and he had no chance to get past Sam Pickle defensively. So AMP's O-line gives BFG an opportunity here to take it to half. It's just if Nicky Spiva's watching the film, he'll want that decision back. There was really no way, barring a Herculean effort from the receiver, to make that completion.
Yeah, not sure he was aware of the extra defender over the top.
Yes, Nicky. Middle. Yes, Shields. Yes, Shields.
Mario O'Brien rips a huck to Hagan, but also a poach, and well defended by Luke Ryan. Luke Ryan's made a couple big plays in this half. Guy that only played about a game and a half at Nationals last year. Dealt with a variety of injuries. And a timeout taken at 7-all. Nicky Spiva will have the disc when we resume. It's been fun to watch Spiva and Hagan go head-to-head. You watch between points when the BFG O-line and AMP D-lines are out there. It's usually Spiva and Hagan standing next to each other on the sidelines.
Yeah.
It's like they're just catching up, evaluating what happened. And when it's time to step inside the lines, they really compete. Look at the last 5 years, the US Open and the National Championship. Winning the US Open has meant a lot the last couple seasons in terms of who goes on to win nationals. Of course, in the mixed division, we had international winners from Australia 3 years ago, and from Montreal, Odyssey, back in 2013 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Spiva and Hagan meet again. The conversation continues. Were there any guys that you would guard playing in the men's division that you would just chat with the entire game?
Absolutely. I think going back to the days when I was playing on Ring of Fire, someone like Alex Simmons, who might play more defense than others, was someone that I would speak with a lot, and remember the Ironside guys in particular being okay with chatting between points.
White called a foul. Defense called a foul. Didn't affect play, so it should stay here. It's going to be on a one. It's going to be on a one. It stopped as soon as you caught it. Pin on one. We're in. She caught the disc.
Well, the pace of this game, Ian, is one that indicates we're probably not going to get to 15. 30 minutes away from soft cat. We haven't gotten to halftime yet. Amp takes half. Nice one-handed grab by Emily Shields, who used to play in the mixed division with Wild Card. And Amp, 2 breaks to 1, wins the first half. Amp 2 for 12. Or I should say 2 for 10 on break chances, whereas BFG was 1 for 2. BFG 1 for 3. To get the facts straight. 8-7. Amp in front on the back of Shields' goal. And certainly it was easier for Amp to score than it was for BFG. But this game's anybody's for the taking.
Yeah, I think Amp would be happier to be leading by a larger margin considering how many break opportunities they had and how many they haven't taken advantage of.
Patrick Sherlock talking to his team. Meanwhile, we're joined by BFG captain Lily Gu. And Lily, it wasn't the finest half of Ultimate I've ever seen BFG play. What do you think were some of the issues that you'll be working through at the half here?
I think that, yeah, there's a different wind here today. It's also really hot, so we're facing different kinds of adversities, and we've been practicing working through all sorts of types of adversities, and the AMP defense, especially their handler defense, is looking really great, so we're going to be working through that. It's an awesome challenge.
What's the message to the offense in the halftime huddle? It feels like they just haven't been able to get in rhythm or get in sync in the first half so far.
Yeah, I definitely think that the AMP handler defense has, gotten wise to the way that our offensive set runs, and our offense is making some adjustments to that. But the message to them in the huddle is that we trust them, and they've definitely adjusted their play to different teams' defense before, and they're going to play their game.
Lily, has it been hard to bring the same intensity to the U.S. Open as you guys did at the World Championships 2 weeks ago?
I'd say it's different. As we've said many times before, we're a process-focused team, but going to Worlds is definitely a different kind of, you have Worlds in the back of your head and this big wild tournament in the back of your head. For us, this tournament feels like the beginning of a season. It feels like a lot of great reps and practice. So the intensity is different, but it's not hard to bring it.
Where's your gold medal currently?
It's in a secret place.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
keep it there. Enjoy it. But best of luck in the second half. Thanks for joining us,
I'd
Lily.
like to shout out our sponsor, V-Reps, and David Rush at Windermere, too.
Well done.
Thank you.
Lily, thank you. 8-7. BFG with work to do. Amp's going to receive the disc to start the second half. Philly up a break in pursuit of another U.S. Open title here in Minnesota. Amp leading BFG by a break. It's 8-7 at the half. Patrick Sherlock, coach of Philly Amp, joins us. And Patrick, very different story from the first half of the World Semifinals. Similarly, you only have about 20 minutes until soft cap because that half took a while. But what are your thoughts on just this battle between these two teams? Not sure either are clicking the way they want to, but it's tight and competitive.
Oh, it's been great so far. We're looking forward to the second half. We're always excited to play this team, and we're at this tournament to get challenges like that to help us build in our season.
It feels like your defense has had so much success generating turnovers in the first half. What's the message to get them to be a little more efficient in converting those breaks?
We talked this morning about some things, and we didn't execute them 100% in that half, and so we've given ourselves some opportunities to keep improving on that, and that's what we talked about. We want opportunities to learn and improve. We've got them.
When you look at this BFG team, what impresses you the most? What's the biggest challenge going against these world champs?
Oh, they have excellent discipline. They have a great personality that they really bring onto the field, and they set a high level, and that raises ours as well, so we appreciate them.
Were you pleased with how quickly you scored on offense early in that half? It was 3 throws, it was 5 throws, it was 6 throws. It seemed like you guys were slicing and dicing to success.
It was good continuation, and we want a lot of different people involved, and I hope we can continue that.
Patrick, we appreciate your time. Best of luck in the second half.
Thanks as well.
That's Patrick Sherlock, who's been with AMP since 2006. Some of these first half highlights will indicate some of these quick points. We were tied at 5 after that goal from Hannah. 1-0 on a break early, and neither side led by more than 1 the entire half.
Yeah, AMP certainly had opportunities generating multiple turnovers on the BFG offense, but their D-line just wasn't as efficient as it could have been. We could be looking at a larger margin here at half if they'd been more efficient in punching some of those breaks in earlier in the half.
Tough grab there by Kawabata. Kerry Chang, as much as anybody, was solid and kind of an anchor for the BFG offense.
Yeah, he and Koo were developing some chemistry there for that offense, saving possession, working together in the red zone, and sometimes those are the plays that you're going to need to keep your offense in games.
Emily Shields took it to half. It's 8-7 Philadelphia leading Seattle. AMP has been so close so many times. They'd love to set the tone for the season. Remember, the last 2 U.S. Open champs have won the mixed championship at Nationals. 8-7 at the half. If you just joined us, 23 turnovers in the 15 points through the first half. AMP broke to go up 1-0. BFG broke back to lead 5-4. Amp broke again to lead 7-6 and took half 8-7. 3 goals for Carolyn Normile, 2 assists for Nikki Spiva. And the second half of the mixed final at the U.S. Open is on the way. We've got a couple teams that are both undefeated here at the U.S. Open. BFG and AMP are both 6-0. It's going to change for one of these teams, and the other is going to be the U.S. Open champs. AMP up a break, meaning they're up 1 and receiving to start the second half with a chance to go up by 2.
Let's go,
Tommy Lee gets us started in half number 2. AMP quickly back to Spiva. We're in Blaine, Minnesota at the U.S. Open Ultimate Championships, a tournament that was first played in 2012. Evan Lepler, Ian Toner, ready to broadcast the men's final between New York Pony and Minneapolis Sub-Zero, a matchup that no one predicted. And then Brute Fury later tonight, a much more likely women's matchup as AMP converts to Normile. Another goal for the Pit Star.
Starting to sound like a broken record every time we point out how much easier these AMP holds are. You compare the amount of energy that this offense has to expend and how smooth their movement is down the field against the struggles that the BFG offense has had. Nice job just keeping that disc here on this near sideline, breaking the mark with some high release looks.
You know, the point finishes Spiva to Normile, but pretty much everyone is involved through the flow of the point. And I think that's how most teams want it. You know, everybody dink and dunk your way down the field, gradually gain yards, and then, okay, playmaker, finish it off for us.
Well, Nikki Spiva's had a much stronger start today than he had in yesterday's game, where he started the first offensive point with a deep turnover. He did have one huck look that was something he probably wanted back in the first half of this game, but he's been aggressive with his break throws and connecting at a higher rate so far in this game than his performance in the semifinal.
BFG back on offense. One thing we should mention, BFG is without Kate Kingery, the talented veteran who's won several championships, the national and international level. And Kate's getting married in 13 days to another Ultimate player. Dave Hunziker was playing with the BFG team at the World Championships, so they've got a busy couple of weeks of the last minute planning things ahead. Wish them the best of luck. At the World Championships, Kate Kingery was bestowed the first ever Ultimate Peace Global Spirit Award. Ultimate Peace asking each of the teams at the World Championships to nominate someone on their team that has made a difference in the community, both in Ultimate and beyond. And Kate Kingery has impacted so many lives through coaching, through her other work in the world of theater. She's the National Spirit Director for USA Ultimate, and a worthy award winner for Ultimate Peace's first Global Spirit Award. BFG with kind of a rarity in this game, a turnover-free hold.
Yeah, nice spacing as they move the disc down the field. Again, the closer they get to the red zone, the more they swing the disc back and forth and change that point of attack. And a nice easy finish to that front side cone. You'd like to see some better defense defending that four side cone, but
no one has more goals on BFG than Lindsay Simon Fox. Talking about Kate Kingery, she wears number 5, and Simon Fox the double nickel. And Jeff Pape, his first assist in this U.S. Open final. What do you think of that hat?
at some point, that's got to start slowing him down from behind.
You're talking about wind resistance.
Yeah.
Not very aerodynamic. I don't see a cyclist wearing a hat like that.
I think there's probably a reason he leaves it on the sideline before he steps on the field.
Amp centers to Normile this time. Nico Lake joins her in the handler set. Lake rips one. Oh, and it's caught. Tremendous comeback grab by Sean Mott. Looked like Steve Gusson had position.
Saw Mott releasing that disc at the last possible second. The stall count was rising and got up to 9.
Nico Lake calls the disc off and makes the catch from Spiva. Big catch from Mott, and it's 10-8 Amp. No turns in the first 3 points of this half, or 9 turns in the first 3 points of the first half.
Well, we're lucky we've got no turns here, because that certainly could have, and you might argue should have been, a turnover. BFG with a great chance to earn that block there, but Mott adjusting and getting his hand out at front at the last second, saving possession. And nice finish in the red zone. Spiva to Lake.
So Spiva continues to distribute. Began his college career in Canada at McGill University and went over to Colorado College. And it's been interesting how Nikki has carved out a niche as one of the top mixed players, even when he competed primarily in the men's division in club.
Yeah, he's represented the United States at the World Ultimate and Guts Championships in London back in 2016, a leader on that mixed team. He's been a leader on World Championships of Beach Ultimate teams for Team USA, and he was also selected as an alternate for Team USA World Games squad, which of course is a mixed team as well.
Kirkland shooting it deep. Kieran Kelly is there. I wonder where this offense was in the first half. Do you think they've made adjustments, or have they just tightened things up?
I think I don't think the Amp offense has made any adjustments. I think the BFG offense has just gotten more comfortable in looking to the break side and finding receivers in isolation on the break side, because once they've been able to do that, that's opened up so many more looks downfield for them.
Kelly involved in 3 of the 9 BFG scores. We're about 13 minutes away from the soft cap going on here in this mixed final. Soft cap goes on 85 minutes after the game begins. There is no hard cap in the final. Once the soft cap expires, at the end of that next point, you add 2 to the higher team score, and that is the new destination.
Big.
If it's smaller than 15. Yesterday when we had the 17-16 game with Revolver and Sub-Zero, is the rare confluence of events in Ultimate that you don't see anymore, with a really close game, the points coming quickly, and obviously tied at 14 with a cap not expiring, and the game continues with a hard cap at 17. People don't usually think of Ultimate as being win by 2, but if the points are being rattled off, it is win by 2 until you get to 16 all. I don't know about you, Ian. I can remember one game of my life that I played that got to 17-16.
Nothing comes out right away. Of course I'm going to rack my brain and think of something later tonight.
Spiva's going deep. That disc floats beautifully. And Spiva just keeps running through the back of the end zone to punctuate the goal. 5 consecutive turnover-free offensive holds to begin the second half.
Well, you saw Nikki set that up as that swing went up to Pana. Brings his cut a few yards in on the deep, on that underneath break side cut, and then plants. He was looking over his shoulder to see when Tommy Lee had committed to the underneath. And as soon as he saw Tommy Lee committed, that's when he planted, turned around, took that back out. We saw the exact same cut in the pony ring match last night when Jimmy Mickle did the same thing to Matt Bode. Just a few simple steps, shallow on the break side, get that defender to commit, and then plant and go to the end zone down that same third.
Any advice to Tommy Lee about how to better defend that, or is that just one of those cuts where you have to give up something and they executed it well?
I think that's a strategic decision that you have to make before the point starts, understanding, being comfortable with what you're going to give up. Hey, I want to be pushing Nikki out. Hey, I want to let him come back to the disc. And depending on what that calculation is, whether that's an individual decision or a decision that the coaches make for him, you've just got to understand how you need to be positioning yourself. And
offsides called here, so they'll re-pull. First offsides of the game, just a warning. BFG's O-line trying to stay perfect here in the second half. After their O-line turned it 10 times in the first half. Chang to Pape. Switching fields for Kawabata. And that throw a little behind Aldous Root, and he can't make the play.
Was a tad behind, but
had
did
both
hit him.
hands.
Yeah, had both hands on it. And we had seen some great initiation from the BFG offense, flooding across the field to open up those crossfield looks.
Normile's throw behind Trissolini. And we talked about players that BFG is missing. Amp does not have the services of Anna Thompson at the moment. Taken very cautious, coming back from foot and back injuries. Chang was going deep, and Pape thought about it, but instead sees Kawabata underneath. And now Chang continues near the sideline. Tumbling grab, Kerry Chang, back to Kawabata, floats it high and into the end zone successfully for Lindsay Simon Fox. Each team turned it one time on the point.
And that's an uncharacteristic miscue from Carolyn Normile, just throwing that behind Trissolini. Great work by Kawabata and the BFG offense after that turnover. Just, again, swinging in the red zone, moving the disc back and forth until that opportunity on the break side opened up. This BFG offense just looks so much more dialed in when they're in that end zone vertical stack set. They're not struggling, missing people the way they are in some of their downfield horizontal sets further away from the end zone.
We're giving everything we can for them.
And it's interesting because normally that's something that teams have to practice and emphasize and work out. You know, normally, hey, we can move the disc 75% of the way, but we're really struggling on our end zone conversions. And it looks like that's been a particular point of emphasis for this BFG squad that they've been practicing and working on and focusing on.
Andrew Hagan launches the pull. BFG needs to break amp not just once, but twice to win the game. About 6.5 minutes away from soft cap. Spiva looking deep. Oh, tremendous bid, but BFG unable to come up with it. And it's a Philadelphia score. Panna hauls it in with Pickle acrobatically coming up short.
Well, Spiva released this one really late in the count, and you could tell with that look on his face, he kind of frowned a little bit and leaned back on the release. That didn't get the same arc and bend that he wanted.
So close.
Man, I don't think Pickle could have gotten any closer without earning the block.
Panna's had a good game in this final. 31-year-old, formerly played with Patrol.
He's had some great experiences working with U.S. national teams as well, serving as an athletic trainer and support staff for the U23 contingent that went to London in 2015.
See that a bunch from ultimate players with athletic training backgrounds. It's a chance to get to go watch some international ultimate and help out in the process. So 12-10. Peleg's backhand pull. Caught by Pape. And centered to Adam Simon.
And again, that isolation on the break side is what's making the difference for getting that offense started.
Yes, Hugo. That's good position. Attack. Yes, Hugo.
Koo swings it over. Bryson Simon Fox. To Pape. For the game, I asked Adam Simon, just real quickly, what was the highlight of winning the World Championship? And he said there was no one singular highlight. As Koo drops it, turns it over. He said it was more, the highlight was the process and just building something special with this team, seeing it come to fruition. That's an error unbefitting of a champion.
Hey, we can front here. Don't get it, Jeff.
Pape intercepts the floaty throw into the breeze. Koo sure-handed this time to Kawabata. And a laser beam right on target for Simon in the end zone. So BFG hanging around back within one.
Well, Koo gets bailed out after that drop with the wind acting as the extra defender there. What should have been a simple upline inside-out throw gets popped up into the wind. And then BFG off to the races after the turnover, just continuously swinging, moving that disc further and further toward that opposite cone until Simon made it there unmarked.
Kawabata, the Vancouver native, picks up her third assist. Her teammates have talked about, yeah, obviously she's a strong physical player, but her mental game and how unaffected she is by tense situations. One of the things that stood out about her performance so far with this team. Tommy Lee ready to pull, along with Lily Gu and Alexa Kirkland, one of the three captains of BFG. The Seattle-based team that won Worlds in Ohio a couple weeks ago. To Normile. And there's Mott. Oh, wide open downfield. Linda Morse had nobody near her. And here's Spiva. Amp does it again. This time Bobby Roos in the end zone from Nikki Spiva.
And once again, this Amp offense just having little challenge moving the disc down the field. Those first couple cuts, gaining yardage there on that high sideline, and then a simple upline cut to that strike space. I'm sure the BFG defense wants a much tougher hold in future scenarios, because that front cone corner, that's an area that everyone's got to defend.
Roos with the goal, his first of the game. Meanwhile, Nikki Spiva has been involved in every Amp score in the second half. 5 in a row. The 1 deep catch and 4 assists in the second half. Now he's got a half dozen for the game, and Amp's within 2 of the title.
Hey, Bova. Once you get in position, get athletic position.
There's a soft cap horn. Would only be a factor if Amp can. So it would only be a factor if Philly breaks here and then Amp could score 3 in a row to tie it back up. Then it would be a game to 16. Otherwise, BFG scores here, or if Amp closes it out, it's a game to 15.
Maxi up! Luke, positioning, Luke.
Here's Kirkland. Downfield for Kelly. Looking for Kawabata. And she doesn't have the wheels. It's only the 5th total turnover from both teams here in the second half.
A tale of 2 halves, right? Both teams cleaning things up significantly. We talked about the BFG offense doing a better job of isolating some of its receivers in the break space, making a huge difference for their offense here in the second half.
Oh, in the end zone, Kerry Chang nearly had a D, nearly had a Callahan, and can't even come up with a turnover. Did you think he touched that disc?
I do think he did.
Hey, keep grinding, keep grinding. Keep it hot for daddy, number 7. Let's go, babe. Bova's got a lane.
Oh, and that went off. Perhaps his index finger, or the area between his index finger and his thumb.
Amazing, it still floated. And that disc tipped away, and that's going to be a Callahan for Jeff Pape. Wow. He just stole the disc.
Well, the upfield reset, that kind of offhand high release, was something Pape saw coming, and you see it ricochet back off Kerry Chang.
Wow. Does Chang get the assist?
I'm sure he would want it.
Now we're going to give Pape credit for the Callahan. That's a hold. They're back within 1 at 13-12. We're playing to 15. Well, 25 points into this game. 23 total turnovers in the first half, only 6 in the second. You don't see that many Callahans. You can go an entire tournament without seeing one. Any dramatic Callahans from your playing career, either yourself involved or for your team or against your team? I mean, I'm thinking about Jordan Marcy getting the Callahan to close out Ring of Fire in the semifinals at Nationals last year. A lot of Revolver guys talk about how that's one of the highlights of their Revolver experience. For Marcy, an unheralded guy, to get a Callahan to close out a semi. Here's Spiva shooting deep. This one's contested. And Lake recovers to haul it in. Wow. 14-12 amp. Lake and Morse, shoulder to shoulder. Both were off balance, but Nico able to recover.
Well, Lake able to adjust after he had initially gone up. I think he thought he needed to sky the pile of Morse and Morse's defender. But it's the second effort adjusting after he initially goes up where he's rewarded. And you saw Spiva release that without any regard for what other traffic was there at the back of the stack. He just saw Lake in isolation going up the break side, and he said, all right, this one's going up.
So Ian, frankly, as ugly as this game was for stretches in the first half, Amp is one goal away from closing this out. And the Amp O-line has only turned the disc over 3 times all game long. None here in the second half.
And that's the hallmark of a championship level O-line. You know, of course, they aspire to have perfect games, but right now, that's the margin here with Amp up by 2.
BFG needs a hold and back-to-back breaks to become the U.S. Open champions. If BFG can't rally, then we'll have 3 different winners from Worlds to the U.S. Open. Kelly to the end zone. There was contact, but was it a foul? Intended for Bryson Simon Fox.
Well, I don't think there was anywhere that defender could have landed without impacting Bryson Simon Fox. When he launches himself, he's going straight into the body.
So maybe, I mean, should this be a card, but also a turnover? Because I'm not sure the foul impacted the drop disc, although you could argue that maybe out of the corner of his eye, he saw a body flying into him.
Yeah, I think the imminent dangerous play caused Simon Fox to kind of pull up, and I cannot believe this is being contested. That is unfathomable.
Well, what if Robinson is contending that, look, yeah, I know I hit you, but the disc has already been passed when I hit you.
There's also the argument that when you leave your feet, you are required to complete a play in such a manner that you're not committing a dangerous play, and that you have somewhere to land that doesn't impact the other player. That's just irresponsible on his part.
It goes as a contested foul. BFG maintains possession and turns it back over. But a foul called on the throw with Kieran Kelly.
I thought I felt fingers. I think I did that. And I'm like, I'm supposed to
Did he hit an empty hand?
Yes, he did.
no foul.
So the call's been rescinded. Ben Peleg with the disc. Mozafari rips it long. Good defense by Pape. Attacked it early. Did not give Flamberg a chance. I make it to Roos, who was nearby.
not clear on the downfield structure or cutting pattern here from BFG. I think they're having trouble reestablishing after that turnover.
Rice and Simon Fox, nice throw to get it off the sideline.
Closer! Ben! Ben, no blind! More open side! Come on, Ben! Kick hold!
And a pick downfield.
Yeah, Ben fresh.
Song three. Song three. Song three. On you.
Rob, get your position and attack, baby!
To Simon.
Luke, fine! Luke, middle! Swinging! Middle! Luke!
Jeff Pate slices it through to Kawabata. There's the hold. Now BFG needs back-to-back breaks.
Well, we see how difficult it is for Mozaffari to huck upwind in these conditions. Things swirling and gusting here in this stadium, but it just doesn't feel right that BFG was able to
We have a timeout on the field. BFG have taken their first timeout of the second half.
convert here, and just want to confirm for everyone that BFG has taken a timeout on the field.
So the world champs in the men's division, San Francisco Revolver, fell in the semifinals here in a shocking result to Minneapolis Sub-Zero. The women's champs, of course, Seattle Riot, did not make the trip to the U.S. Open this year. And remember, they didn't qualify for the world championships themselves, too. They only were invited to Worlds after another team internationally backed out. And here in the mixed division, BFG, who knocked Amp out in the semifinals at Worlds. One more Nikki Spiva hold away from settling for silver at the U.S. Open. And I'll mention again something that I mentioned yesterday. I was chatting with Mark Burton, Seattle Mixtape, on the sideline, and he said, you know, I've always heard how hard it is to repeat, and I finally understand. And that goes not just from season to season, but also from tournament to tournament.
And I want to clarify my earlier comment about what felt wrong about that point. I think it's good that BFG was able to hold, but the fact that there was no card or any kind of penalty for that dangerous bid. We're not too far removed from the broader Ultimate community having discussions about how Ultimate has a bad bid problem and players not being responsible enough for the safety of their fellow competitors. And I thought that was just a prime example of a dangerous, reckless play that could have been avoided, and there was no way for the defender to make a play there without landing on another player.